going to be a natural soap. Now I know lots of people have different definitions for natural soaps, but for me it's taking my base recipe, and that's absolutely fine, but I'm not going to include any fragrance oils or any mica or any titanium dioxide. So all my colourings are going to come from plant extracts, clays, that sort of thing, and it's going to be scented with essential oil. So for me, what I'm going to do is I've got a chocolate orange soap. So to get my orange colour, I've got a paprika infusion here that I've had infusing for, gosh, over a year, maybe like 18 months by now. Got a little bit of that left. That's going to give me my orange colour. My chocolate colour is going to come from cocoa powder. And then I'm going to have some sort of plain soap as well, which will just, my recipe is pretty white anyway, so that can be sort of some whitish elements. In here I've got my normal oils, but I master batch some oils without the olive oil content, because then any time I want to do an infusion I can just substitute that for what would have been the olive oil. Now in the areas where I'm doing plain soap and I'm using the cocoa powder, I'm not actually doing an infusion, so what I'm going to do is just add some normal olive oil back into there. So for my first layer I want an orange layer, so I'm going to need some of my master batch oils and some of my infusion. I'm just going to weigh those bits off. So I've poured off those oil I need, and can you see how that paprika's given a lovely orange there in the soap? And as I said, it's just my normal recipe. It's just that I infuse plant infusions into olive oil and then use that to replace the olive oil in my normal soap. So let's add my normal lye solution. And we'll just get that blended up. So for my essential oil, I'm using orange essential oil. Now, I always, when I'm using a citrus, something like an orange, lemon, lime or whatever, I would love to use a folded oil. I can do that for an orange, and an orange folded oil means that it's just the smelly parts of the oil, as it were, are contained more in the soap. They're actually stronger. Overall, the smell of the orange in the pure oil isn't stronger, but what it does mean is that it will last in your soap. If you just use a normal essential oil for something like a citrus, most citruses, then they'll typically disappear in your soap. So a folded oil. Now, if I could get a folded lime or lemon, that would be great. I'd love it. If anyone knows where you can get one at a not ridiculous price, I would love to know, because we can't get it in the UK. But anyway, let's do my folded orange. If you want to know more about folded oils and that sort of thing, I'll link a video to where I've gone into more depth about what a folded oil is and what it actually means. So let's just pop this in. I am going to give this a blend because it's a single colour, so I've got no fancy design to do with it, and citrus or things like orange, lemon and that are actually really slow in your soap, so this isn't going to accelerate on me. Okay, I think that should do us. For this first layer, I just literally want a nice straight flat layer. So in it goes to my mould. I'm just using my spatula, not to break the fall, but just to slow the flow of that oil into the batter, and then it will create fewer bubbles in your soap. Okay, so we all want a beautiful smooth soap, don't we? I'm just going to give that a shimmy. There we go. nice and flat. I'm going to leave that to just firm up a little bit so I can pour another layer on top. So we'll come back when that's done. I'm going to do an ombre with my next layer. Now, normally when you do it, if you're mixing in micas or whatever, then you would just make up your batch of soap, split your batch of soap off and then colour it. Here, because I'm doing an infusion and therefore that's in my base oils, as it were, I actually have to mix these up in 2 separate little batches. So what I've got is, I'm going to have a bit more of the plain colour. So this is my lye solution for my plain colour. Okay, so that's just going to be plain soap. And then this is more of my paprika infused oil in this bit. Okay, so I'm going to blend those up as normal, and then we can use those to do our ombre with. Okay, so that's just my plain soap. Now I'm just going to take my blender and go straight into here because, remember, this is exactly the same stuff. It's just got infused paprika in it, so that's no problem. Now it might look, if you have a look at this, it may look that, can you see how that oil looks really, that looks like I've got quite a thick trace on there. I actually think that's a false trace in there. My oils weren't massively hot, they were about 80 degrees, and it's actually quite chilly in this room. Yeah, 59 degrees in my, well, the surface here on my soaping room is 59 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's 15 degrees centigrade, that's about right. So I think that's actually a false trace, and you can tell that because A, I didn't blend it much and I wouldn't expect my soap to thicken that quickly. And can you see, if you look at it, it's sort of like a weird grainy effect, it's not smooth. And what we'll do with that is, that's fine, it's not a problem, because if we just keep stirring it, it will then thin out. Can you see how, look how that's thinning that already? Okay, so don't get fooled by a false trace, because if you poured it whilst it was a false trace, that would mean it's not actually properly emulsified and it would split apart in your soap. So we need to make sure that we're waiting. Look, can you see? Look how pourable that's got already. So that started to warm up a bit, and now because it's warmed up a little bit, because it's doing what soap does and reacting. Yeah, see, that's only at 74. My lye solution was a bit chilly. I did warm my lye solution. I'm going to give those a little go in the microwave just to get those a bit warmer. Okay, so we're nice and smooth now. I will just put some of that soap up the side of my jug so I can check it's emulsified. Heating wise, I'm now 87. That's still at 76. Oh no, 81. That one, so that's cool. Or slightly warmer, you should say. Right. Yeah, they're fine. They are emulsified. Okay, let's get that oil, that essential oil in.
The snow is falling down. I've been longing for this Christmas, when everyone's around to share this heart.
Now I know that doesn't look very white at the moment, it's quite a little bit yellowy, but as that saponifies that will go whiter. My natural soap recipe, or my basic soap recipe, is actually pretty white. So I'm pretty happy that, and I don't mind it being a little bit creamy, it doesn't have to be a stark white, I think that will be fine. So this is now set up enough. Because I'm doing an ombre, I want to tip it over and I want to make sure that it's not going to move. And I think we're okay with that. Now for my ombre, I'm going to be quite heavy on the white at the bottom because I kind of want it to look like, with an orange, you know, you get the dark peel of the orange and then you have that white area, that white sort of pithy bit, and then you have the inside of the orange. So I'm kind of going to do that. Now I know you can't see right in the mould. I don't know if I can move that up a little bit so you can. Yeah, that's a bit better, isn't it? So hopefully I can still pour at that angle and get it down the side. Okay, so heavy on the white first of all. So I get quite a nice white layer going in. I think that'll be fine, because I do want to have some left, obviously, for my ombre. Right, let's start ombreing this orange in. And the good thing, as I said, with these citrus, these orange essential oils, they do make your trace nice and slow, which is what you need for an ombre. Okay, so once I've got my initial bit in, I'm just going to go with less pours, because I want my ombre to be more gradual than that first bit. I don't mind a sort of almost a first white layer.
Yes, it's a time of happiness, a time of joy, but now this year is twice as special, cause I'm hoping for us to fall in love in this winter wonderland. Chilling by the fire as I'm trying to get your attention, giving you a smile I can seem to look away. I might be crazy, but I think you feel it too, like a vibration right between us with a beautiful two. Could we fall in love in this winter wonderland? Cold night, but I'm warm inside. Already said a little prayer that you will stick around. Is this year I'm really hoping for a kiss under the mistletoe? As hours pass by, all the stars shine much brighter. Or is it just your eyes that have lit something?
Right, so there's our ombre done. Let's very gently lift it off, because it's really, really fluid.
My heart is pounding really fast, I don't know what to do.
And I'm going to very carefully just tilt it slowly. If you drop it down fast and bang it down, then you get a weird sort of like shift in the pattern and a weird wedge, which is never nice. Okay, right, that's down safely.
Cold night, but I'm warm inside. Already said a little prayer that you will stick around. Is this year I'm really hoping for a kiss under the mistletoe? Snow is falling down. I've been longing for this Christmas, when everyone's around to share this holiday. Yes, it's a time of happiness, a time of joy, but now this year is twice as special, cause I'm hoping for that we'll fall in love in this winterland. Could we fall in love in this winterland? Wanna fall in love in this winter wonderland.
For the cocoa powder element, so the chocolate that's going to be at the top of my soap, I kind of treat the cocoa powder rather like mica. So I've got my cocoa powder in here. I'm just going to then disperse it with some of my batch oils. Okay, so these oils will be used to then make the soap for that. So I'm just going to mix that in and get it dispersed. Just be careful, because it will fluff up in the air and be a bit of a pain. So just get that dispersed as normal. You can just add it straight into your oils, but I find there can be some clumps in cocoa powder. So I guess you could sieve it or something first, but I just find by doing it in a little bit of the oil first and just making sure you really get any lumps and clumps out, is good. And then when you add it in, or add your oils in, then you should be okay and clump free. Okay, so that's good now. So I could go in and put in the rest of my oils for that. So I've just added those oils in. I've got my normal master batch, well, my master batch oil without the olive oil. And then I've added the olive oil in. Okay, so I can now just get this mixed up. I may even just blend that in. Remember, this is just oils at the moment. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm just checking. I've got no lumps and bits of cocoa in there, so that's great. And that will obviously still get a blend when I put my lye solution in there and turn that into soup. I think we're set up enough now, so I can do a little scrape with my little drips scraper that I've got here. And what I'm going to do is, I've not put it that far down into the soap. Can you see there where I've just measured it? And what I'm hoping is to be able to take the soap that I scrape out of these low drippy bits and put them into this higher bit. So essentially I just want to move the soap around rather than really scrape any out. So it'll take a little bit more fiddling around than if you're just going to scrape a load of soap out. But then it saves you having to find something else to do with the soap. And certainly something with like a design like this with just drips, it doesn't matter if it's not, you know, completely accurate, as it were. You know, it's not as if we're doing a building or something that has to be very, very precise.
Well, I'm all for Christmas, all the happy smiles and the wishes, and I want it all from the lights to the mistletoe. Tell me one thing.
Okay, so I'm happy with that. That's all the soap that I took out. So that's pretty good stuff. So I've just turned the chocolate oil into soap by adding my lye solution. I deliberately made this not too dark. Yeah, you might say that sort of looks more like a milk chocolate than a dark chocolate. And the reason for that is I don't like it when you use cocoa in soaps and then you get brown water and brown foam all over the place. I really don't like that. So therefore I don't do it too dark.
Well, I'm all for Christmas. It's a magical time full of kisses. Take a walk outside and tickle the snowman's nose.
Okay, so once again, I'm going to leave that for a little while to set up, just so I can get my little cute gingerbread men or chocolate men or whatever they are in. And as you can see with this, these were made with cocoa as well, but again, I put less cocoa in them than that. And the reason for that is that I didn't want it to look like, I kind of want it to look like the little gingerbread or the chocolate men are playing in the chocolate at the top. I didn't want it to look like they have been absorbed by the chocolate and they're having some hideous melting death or anything. So I wanted them to look a different colour to that chocolate. People may not think like that, but I just sort of thought, I don't want it to look like they're being consumed by the chocolate. Okay, so we'll just let that set up so it gets thick enough to get those little embeds on top.
Last year I thought about how things can come around just like that if everyone is here to celebrate one day. We have our ups and downs, but when there's love there's always a way, and oh, this time of year we come together to celebrate.
Okay, I think they look lid on just to make sure it gels nicely. And so I'm just going to go and do a ginger height check just to make sure they're all going to fit in without getting bashed.
This year I'll think about how I'm so lucky to have a place that I can come home to. Yes, I am on my way. We'll put our differences
There.
aside.
All snugged in there nice and safely, ready to go through to gel. So here's our cute little soap the next day with those super cute little figurines on it, little chocolate bed, gingerbread people, whatever they are. Smells lovely. That orange has really hung on nicely in there, and that's the great thing about having those folded oranges for the essential oils. And let's have a look at what we've got inside. I don't think I chopped any of my little chocolate gingerbread people. So there we go. I quite like that. That's got my ombre coming in nicely. That white bit that I wanted sort of to represent the white bit that you have on the orange. And can you see with the chocolate, you've got one of those rings round the outside, and we can tell that's a discoloration ring because it's nice and uniform and square. If this was a partial gel ring, that would be a circle going out from the middle with it darker in the middle. So this is going to tell me that this cocoa is going to discolour darker to that same colour on the outside. And I'm happy with that as well, because remember I said I wanted my little chocolate people to be looking like they're diving in to the chocolate there rather than looking like they're melting away. So they're a different colour, which is great. I think they'll all be pretty well the same inside. So luckily no chopping of those little people off. So there's our new chocolate orange soap.
And here's a photo of the final soap just to finish off. I hope you've enjoyed this video and you like the soap. If you have, it would be great if you gave me a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, why not subscribe to my channel to see what I'm making in the future. Thanks for watching everyone. Happy soaping!